Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my first impressions with the Echoes of the Atlas content, and specifically some of the Atlas Ascendancy options that have overperformed in my experience. So these are the three Atlas Ascendancies that I consider to be the strongest in the current state of the game. I'm not saying that I'm necessarily right on these. It may be that there's a couple of specific tricks using some of the others that are better than any of these, but these have been ones that have worked really well for me. So firstly, we're going to go to Lex Ajoris for number 3, and we're going to talk about Pathological. This one was really obvious when it was first spoiled. So maps found in areas have a 10% chance to have layers of delirium. So what that means is that when you open up a Lex Ajoris map from your map device, every map that drops in that zone has a 10% chance to have at least one and possibly more delirium orbs pre-applied to it. So let's say that I put an Armory map in, Armory map being a good choice because it drops the new divination card, the Patient, which is quite valuable. And I'm running an Armory map. While I'm doing that, let's say that I had Courtyard at a low tier, and a Courtyard map dropped. Well, that Courtyard map would have a 10% chance to be Delirious if it dropped that way. This is something that just adds a lot of extra juicy maps to the pool of maps that are dropping for you. And it's just basically a high value thing because it procs so often. Typically, with the amount of maps that you're getting in the Ritual League dropping, you'll get a Delirious map maybe every 2 maps that you run. And so that's a lot. That is a lot of Delirious maps. They're not as good as getting an actual Delirium orb yourself because you don't have the agency over what map to put it on, but that's still fine. There's a lot you can do with pre-Delirious maps. So my pick for number 2 is Inside Job. Now this one is an interesting one. A lot of people got burnt out on Heist. And that's actually really useful if you're in a trade league because it means that there's a lot of people not running Heist content. And that means that there's lots of blueprints circulating around, but there's plenty of demand for the replica uniques, many of which are quite valuable. I've made something like 8 exalts from selling soul tethers that have dropped for me in this league, but it's not just replica soul tether that drops, there's lots of other good stuff as well. Blueprints basically drop a lot of loot. And what Inside Job does is it actually reduces the number of normal heist contracts you need to run in order to then run one juiced up blueprint. So basically, Inside Job is excellent, and it just means that you've got a lot more blueprints dropping. You have increased chance to get a smuggler's cache. I think it's roughly quadruple a chance to get a blueprint in your maps, and when you do, they have a 10% chance to be fully revealed. But even the ones that aren't fully revealed are still worth running. You don't necessarily need to min-max the blueprints. It's not Heist League anymore. Some of the strategies for extreme min-maxing don't work as well as they used to, but they still drop a staggering amount of loot, including loot you can't get anywhere else in the game, and that's why I'm picking that as my number 2 choice. Honourable mention before we get to number 1, and that honourable mention is not in there, it's in Glenack Cans, and it is the Strongbox node. Tamperproof, Strongboxes in area are corrupted and at least rare. This is brokenly powerful in conjunction with the Prophecy Monstrous Treasure, and there's been a bunch of people who have made a lot of currency exploiting this combination. However, the cat's out of the bag on this one now, and as a result, Monstrous Treasure is going to go up in price in a trade league. If you're playing in solo self-hand, you probably won't have access to the Monstrous Treasure prophecies. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2 of them in the league, but that is a really strong synergy. And if you're wondering why, it's because corrupted strongboxes drop so many 6 links. And those 6 links are mostly bad, but the bad ones vendor for a Divine Orb. The good ones might be usable to you. If they're usable to you, fantastic. If they're not usable to you, then in a trade league, someone else is going to want them. So, my pick for the number 1 node on the entire Atlas is a mechanic that people generally dismiss. Tormented Spirits. And Seance is absolutely crazy. What this does, it causes up to 20 rare monsters in the area to be possessed. So, if 20 monsters, or 20 or more rare monsters have spawned, then the game will pick 20 of them at random, and those ones will have a ghost already inside them. On the flip side, if less than 20 rare monsters spawn, then every rare monster in the zone will be possessed. This is just a lot, and I think it needs to be shown off. I've taken a low tier Glacier map here. Let's go and run this. So this is just a really low tier map to give you a sense as to the amount of loot that drops as a consequence of these possessed monsters being everywhere. And we're just waiting. Load screens have been really slow for me this entire league. I'm on my single target setup, so I'll just switch to AoE, especially for a tier 3. So it takes quite a while to kill the first monster, but once I do, get all sorts of satisfying chaos explosions everywhere around. And oh, that's a blueprint there, always nice. There's something I've been talking about. So we're going to find that there's a lot of rare monsters that are possessed, and those ones will drop a lot of items. Now, rare monsters that you add to the map after the map has already started, they won't be possessed. So these Beyond monsters won't be. They won't benefit from Seance, but all of the normal ones will. There's another one. Now, they drop more items than usual. That doesn't mean that every item is good, and you can still go entire maps with Seance without getting a single good drop from these things. But overall, it's a numbers game, and this mod puts the numbers really in your favour. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I'll just continue playing this map just to give you a bit of a gameplay looks as well. Really bad performance, as I've been mentioning. That's been plaguing me all league. But we'll just have a quick look. We've got 3 rituals remaining, so that means that we're going to have a really juicy last one. Because the last one will have all the monsters from the first 3 as well as its own monsters. That Rogue Exile was taking ages. That's because I'm not using my single target setup. And whilst the Chaos Explosions are really good for clearing trash, they really are bad on big packs. Because I'm basically using blank weapons from a damage perspective. I'm using Obliteration, which has no damage for my build. So you'll notice that these rituals, these monsters aren't gaining the benefits of the Tormented Spirits. That's because they're newly added to the monster by your aid. Oh, sorry, to the map. They weren't there at the start of the map, so they don't get the benefits from there. But that said, there's another pack. This pack will drop more monsters. Oh, sorry, more items because everything in it is possessed or is touched by the spirits, and the rare monster with them is possessed, which means it'll drop something like 4 times its normal loot. All in all, Seance is like having an extra 50-odd rare monsters on the map. It's just heaps. And even though rare monsters are only a fraction of the loot in a map normally, it's actually magic monsters that drop most of it. It still adds up to a lot. And their packs are touched as well, which means that the packs are dropping more loot as well. One very important warning, though, with Seance. Seance is very, very, very dangerous. Don't take it lightly. Be afraid of it. It's not that it's something you can't beat, but it will make your maps a lot harder. That's all I got, though. If you've got any comments or questions, fire away below. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you have a good one.